Hello, my name is Corey Failer, and this is my presentation for my idea of the grocery pathfinding app. Enjoy. Before going into any details of my project, I'd first like to tell you a little bit more about the idea behind the project I chose, where it came from, and so on. So, when I was choosing projects, I wanted to push myself and do something that had a real world application, something that I would actually use myself. And so I got to thinking, and one of the things that I find myself doing on a regular basis is planning a route through the grocery store to get items I need in the most efficient way. So the whole idea for my project was to create a program that could do that for me, that could navigate through the grocery store for me when given my grocery list as an input. At first, I wanted to make this application available as a mobile app, but complications within my team came up, and I ended up moving forward with the project alone by about the third week. I knew that I would have to sacrifice some of the features that I had originally envisioned making in order to get a working project to submit with less than 2 weeks of development and solo development at that. I chose to drop the idea of a mobile app as development for the mobile platform had some extra complications that I didn't foresee originally, and I just didn't have enough time to work around those extra complications of it being a mobile app. Instead, I decided to create more of a proof of concept desktop app that at least had the base functionality that I wanted, just without all of the bells and whistles. So in order to get the application functioning as I wanted, I knew I would need to create a database for a grocery store so I could have access to a list of products and locations for the items within a store. As you can see in the left diagram, this is the entity relationship diagram that I created for the project. My database would contain tables for users, stores, and a map or locations of items within the stores, a table of lists by user so that each user can save their favorite lists and then just load them up, and finally a table of products with all of the related information for them. The diagram on the right is my activity diagram, showing the process the program would follow and the user interaction within the application. First, the customer would be able to select whatever store that they're at. Then the user would create their grocery list by using a search bar to search for and add items to their list. So they would search the database and then add those items from the database to the list. And once the user submits that list, the rest is all up to the program. So the program would first plot each item from the list on a graph using the location of each item. And once each item from the list had been plotted, the program would use pathfinding algorithms to connect all of those items on the graph, finding the shortest path through the store and displaying that to the user. So unfortunately, because of the time constraints I had for the development of the project, as well as developing solo, my end result had quite a few limitations, sadly, and did not quite live up to what I had envisioned. For one, my UI is quite primitive looking. I really would have liked to spend more time creating a user interface that is actually pleasing to look at, in addition to the functionality of the program. I also didn't get the chance to port the app to a mobile platform, which I really would have liked to do, and that's what I wanted to do originally. Instead, the app is for desktop only in its current state. Another limitation of my application is that my pathfinding algorithm only finds the shortest path to the next item in my grocery list, instead of finding the whole path through the store, with the path linking every item on the graph, starting at the entrance and ending at the checkout. The last limitation for my app is that I was unable to secure a real-world grocery store database. And at the beginning of the project, I actually called up Meijer grocery store and asked if I could have a list of grocery items mapped to their locations within the store. And sadly, they said no, which makes my app quite a bit less useful to the real world use, but I ended up creating just a very small example database that I could use instead. So I guess it worked out okay. Even though this app came up pretty short of my original vision for the project, I still managed to complete a significant amount of it. It actually ended up being a really solid proof of concept for the app. And after graduation next week, I may do a little bit more development on it and fix the things that I wasn't able to for lack of time, as well as explore my options of a port to mobile. If things go well, you could very well see this app on the App Store in the future, because I looked on Google Play and I wasn't able to find any app that has this concept. So if any of you steal my idea, I will know. So you better watch out. Alright, so I'd like to give you a little bit of a tour of my application and show you the actual thing and how it works and so on. So if we press start here, it takes us to our initial login page. We can either log in with an existing account. I do already have one for when I was testing and everything and developing the app. But for illustration purposes, I'll just create a new one. So if I fill out all of the information here, it will send this to my actual database, which I have over here. I accidentally messed something up and I had to delete some data out of there. But if I just use my student email and then set my password, no one ever would guess that password, right? If I create an account, it gives us feedback that we've created the account. So we can then log in with that account. So if we enter our email, if I got one email.devin. See, if I forget my password that I literally just created, I can also use that button and it'll take us through a little bit of security questions that I created. So if we just sign in with our new account, we can enter a store name that we want to shop at. For my database right now, I unfortunately only have my very small test database. As I mentioned earlier, I wasn't able to secure an actual one from Meyer, which is lame, but whatever. So the only one that I have currently is Standale, because that's where I live. So if I type Standale, it'll pop up as a suggestion because it's in the database, and we can just click it, select it as a store. This is the list creation page where we can either choose from stored lists. I don't have any because this is a fresh account. So if I go to the item search bar here, I can go and I can search for apples. We have apples in the database. I have bread as well. Oh, I forgot to click add. I probably should add that functionality later, but for now, we have to actually select it and then click add, and it adds to our list over here. We can also delete it, add it back. So if we get our bread in here, then cereal, I think I have about a grand total of 5 or 10 items in here, so really disappointed I wasn't able to get an actual database, because that would have been amazing, but unfortunate. Gotta work with what we got. I believe I have donuts in here under D. That's good for a list. So we can actually save this to our list. So if we give it a name, my favorite foods. We save this to our list. This is actually now in our database. And there it is. We can actually, if we delete everything in here, we can load it up. And it has saved the items just as we submitted them. So now if we submit this, it'll take us to our pathfinding section of the program. So if we find our first item, which is apples, it goes through our A-star pathfinding algorithm and starts at the bottom center of which is presumed to be the entrance of the store. And then I can click show me the way, and it'll bring up this little pop-up, and it'll have S for start, G for goal. So these are our apples. This is where I set the door to be, and it pathfinds around these walls to find our apples over there. Then if we find our next item, see it checks off the next item in our list as we are shopping. And if we show the way from here, see we're going to see a little bug here that I haven't fixed. It actually has to do with this being the second item in the list. I designed it to start from the last item where we left off. So we left off here at 0, 0, which was our apples. So it should start here, but it doesn't. So that's chalked up to bugs to fix, but I believe it works from here on out. It's just got to do with it being the second item in the list. I'm not entirely sure why yet, but that will be fixed later. But if we start here, and then this is our location for bread, so it finds that. And then if we find the next item, cereal, click show me the way, say here, it starts off where we left off from our bread, and then it finds our cereal here. Then if we go to the next item, our last item, donuts, show me the way, and it leaves off right where we left off, where our cereal was, and then finds a path to the donuts. And then if we click find next, it says, oh, we've found everything in our list and we've completed our shopping. So that's essentially the gist of the program. There are a few more small features I didn't cover, but they're pretty minor. And I do have some work to do yet on the program. Unfortunately, I was dealing with quite a lot of time constraints. So as I mentioned before, it's going to be a work in progress, but it's actually very close to working as it should. So yeah, hope you enjoyed, and hope to maybe see this on the App Store soon. We'll see.